now you're coming back on a whole different tip and a whole different level of respect because you understood I was gone.
I've brought something to your attention that I don't like within our friendship, and you continue to do that thing.
I've been in positions where basically I'm not getting that energy, but I'm still like, are you okay? Like, chatting to myself in DMs.
Number one, we are not the same. We're not in the same race. So whatever race you're running, I must clap you until you reach the finish line.
Let's switch up the conversation a little bit. So, still talking about friendships. I want to talk about the other side of it. So we talked about good friends. Now we'll talk about...
Are you looking at me? I'm joking.
I want to talk about kind of how do you identify what is a toxic friendship? How do you identify that? Because there's going to be people who, for example, there's going to be people who are in competitive friendships where it's like they're trying to go against each other and they feel like, oh no, they've got my back, but realistically, that same person's really preying on your downfall in the midst of, you know, like keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer kind of thing. So that's a toxic friendship where you stay alive in that to kind of like, oh, but I've known this person since for this long, or we've been friends and we've gone through this, or da-da-da-da-da. So that's just kind of an example of what I would consider like a toxic friendship where it's like, you're not competing against someone for you both to do better. You're competing against someone to, oh, if they drop, I don't really care as long as I'm potentially stepping on their head to move forward or move higher. So how do you identify toxic friendships?
For me, I'd say that a toxic friendship or a bad friendship is a friendship that draws me away from God. Ultimately, that's a bad friendship to me. Even if you're not a Christian, you should recognise that I am one, and therefore there's certain things that you know that I shouldn't be involved in or whatever. So if you're trying to encourage me to do a madness, I feel like that's not necessarily like the best place for me to be. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to live that life, but there should be that understanding that I am trying to live that life, and I might not be perfect all the time, but if you see that something's not quite there, then you should be pulling me up on that. That's me.
That's good. That is good. I think I like to be in friendships where people celebrate each other. So that element of competitiveness, when you're talking about it, probably a bit triggering for me because I never want to be back in a friendship circle where I feel like people are competing against me. Number one, we are not the same. We're not in the same race. So whatever race you're running, I must clap you until you reach the finish line. It's true. Like, why are we competing? It's not healthy. It's not like, it doesn't honor who God's made us to be and what route he's put us on. I'm not on it. And people, like, I like to serve my friends and I also like to be served at times. Yeah. So when I see my friends are willing to give up a week to come and help me do something that I have to do, like take off annual leave from their own workplace to volunteer to help me, to me, that is like, it's mind-blowing. And so people that will serve and celebrate when that isn't happening, because you ask for the bad. So when it's not happening, so when people are competitive and are self-seeking and not supportive, that stuff for me is really uncomfortable. Like really uncomfortable, because then you feel like you have to, every little bit of good news you get, you have to dull it down. Like, oh, it's good, but it wasn't that good, just because other people aren't going to celebrate you. Like, it's long.
I hear that.
I think for me, like, I'm big on energies. So it kind of flows through what you've all been saying. Like, so for me, it's not even necessarily about matching the energy in that moment, because I think as people as well, like, we're all at different energies at different times. Like, you can catch me on a low moment, I can catch you on a high, and vice versa. But I feel like you need to, if you're in a friendship where you consistently have somebody who doesn't give you that energy that you need, because like you're saying, it needs to serve a purpose. And it's also like a lot of the other things that we're saying in terms of the opposites of what we were saying a good friend is. So again, like being held accountable to certain things. I think my kind of advice for people, or kind of through my own experience, and like sometimes it's hard because I also do have a saving complex as well. So trying to separate, like, I've been in positions where basically I'm not getting that energy, but I'm still like, are you okay? Like, chatting to myself in DMs, the kind of thing, yeah. Like, I've been that person, but you get to a point where, so I live by, there's a few mantras that I live by. So, similar to what you're saying, one of them is, you are the most important person in your own life, because you need to be grounded and you need to be on stable ground to be able to help other people around you. One is, and then another one is protect your energy. So again, kind of flowing into what I said. And then I can't think of the third one. But yeah, I just think you have to keep yourself at the forefront and like almost be selfish so that you can be selfless. So if you're in a situation where you can't do that, then you have to kind of get out.
But if you're in a situation where you can't be selfish,
Yeah, selfish to be selfless.
Yes, to be selfish.
Nah, that makes sense. So this
So take it first of all.
Jamaya, you go. I need to.
A friendship that don't work for me is if it's unbalanced where it doesn't need to be. Because it's like let's say my love language is like acts of service, and I think that extends over to my friendships as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So if it's like, I'm a giving person, so if I do a lot for you and you ask me to do things and I do what you ask, but then I don't kind of get that energy back, that is to me not toxic, but it doesn't work for me. It's off balanced where it can be because you're able to, but then I have friends as well where it's like they may not be able to, they may not be in a position to reciprocate what I give them. So that's cool because their life's different. They've gone through different things, so I understand that there's certain things they can't give to me that I can give to them. But yeah, it's just off balance. I don't like, yeah.
So how would you say to someone to get out of that kind of off balance relationship? Because obviously what you're saying is people who can give don't give, and people who can't give, you understand. You understand their situations, but you're saying for the people who can, and you being such a giver of yourself, like why are you not giving to the relationship similar things that I'm giving to the relationship? Maybe not in the similar, may not look the same, but it will feel the same. So how does someone, maybe not even get out of that? How do you change that around? If that's probably a better way to kind of situate that question.
So my first thing is just I'll mention it in some form of way. I try and say it in the most least confrontational, attacky way possible, because I want the message to be received clearly. Yeah. So I'll kind of state what my issue is, and then see what happens after that. And if it's not changing, I'll even give it a second try, depending on the person. If I really feel like the person should be in my life, I'll give it a second try. I'll kind of maybe mention it again, whatever. And if it's not changing, then I just create that distance.
So I can ask a question.
This is conversation with was now.
Right.
It's kind of a general question, but this isn't specific to friendships, just like relationships, any kind of interaction, like because you said create that distance. So I know it's not what you're saying, but directly. But do you think ghosting is an acceptable form of communication?
no.
Under no circumstances.
Ghosting?
Yeah.
No. Why do
You
you
feel
need
like
to
you'd rather say, "Oh, this isn't working," or like, "I don't want to be friends with
Yeah.
you," type thing.
At the end of the day,
Ghosting?
I just feel like you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people that's a soul. Like, why would you be disrespectful? That doesn't mean you have to stay in a place that's harmful to you. But can't you just say like this is it for me?
But say like in a situation, say like Jamal was saying, like the balance isn't there, and like say you've been reaching out and they've not been.
Well, that's
They've
not
not
ghosting because
responded.
you've
No,
already told
but
them.
I'm saying like no.
After that point.
No, yeah, saying so like instead of you continually contacting them, you just whatever completely.
You've
Would you
told
rather?
them though. I don't consider that to be ghosting. If you've communicated something and said this is whatever, and then they still don't do it, you give them a second chance. That's not ghosting. You've told them.
No, but you haven't, because you're not saying, by the way, I'm withdrawing myself.
If you're saying that I don't like this,
Yeah.
or whatever, what what would happen. I don't.
Isn't that a bit of an assumption though?
No, because I've told you.
If you've said, like, I don't like this thing, and then the person hasn't made any movement to change, and they still carry on, they shouldn't be surprised if you're, like, not here anymore. Because, like...
But you'd be surprised how many people will be surprised that you're not there anymore.
No, but at that point, then you can have the conversation. But I'm saying, if someone's already reached out and said, yo, listen, not really feeling you do this, I just want to tell you, I want to let you know, let's speak about it, and they don't either change or reciprocate it, one, I think that's a disrespect because you can't class me as a friend. I've brought something to your attention as a friend that I don't like within our friendship, and you continue to do that thing.
Yeah.
So the one is it's a disrespect, and then secondly, why would I, if I've brought this as a problem and it's still here, why would I still try and maintain this friendship when you're still bringing the problem?
But it's not about maintaining it. It's just basically. I guess my question is more like, should you notify the person that you're no longer?
Okay, so I wouldn't notify the person, but I'm also not in the scenario that I'm giving. I'm not fully saying I'm not responding to a message ever again in my life. Okay. I'm just saying I'm just kicking back now. I'm not gonna give in what I was doing. I'm just gonna live my life. If you message me and go, hey, what's up? How come you haven't? Then I'll be like, oh, so I did fall back a bit just because of ABC.
Yeah. So it's a withdrawal, not a ghost. Because generally, ghosting by definition is normally like, if someone's messaging you, you're blanking them.
It's not ghosting. I'm just saying, I'll just create that distance now. Yeah. But I think sometimes ghosting is needed.
I agree.
But I think that's maybe in more relationship settings. Because sometimes the conversation ain't gonna be no better than no conversation. So
I think I agree.
What, you think ghosting is necessary sometimes?
Absolutely.
Said it was true.
And ghosting sets people straight. Like, a great friendship can recover from ghosting.
True. So just talking to them.
True. Nah, because sometimes talking to them, you're still feeding them with something. It's you talking is actually not you saying you're done. Even if you say I'm done, the fact that you had the conversation saying I'm done is almost saying I'm kind of not done. Me disappearing means I'm done. I was gone. I was over there. You weren't seeing me. Now you're coming back on a whole different tip and a whole different level of respect because you understood I was gone.
It's a boundary thing.
Yeah.
It is a boundary. When you know that you can no longer access me the same way you could access me before.
But you don't have to do that without guessing. Personally.
But you're thinking, I don't know if you're thinking of, you might be thinking of like the nicest situation. I'm saying that there are situations where it might be
Oh,
safer.
so you're saying they're still messaging you and whatever.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta ignore. I don't think it's every time you must have a conversation to find resolve and what's the thing?
Closure.
Thank you. Closure.
What's the C word?
What's the C word? Not that one. Like, not everyday closure. Some days get closure from the Lord.
I actually think closure is a myth. Like, I think only you can give yourself closure. But I think people don't really deep that because there's certain situations.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, there's certain situations where, like, I guess, like, my point is, like, if someone was, say, for example, you had unfinished business with somebody and they passed away, like,
What?
that no, I'm talking in terms of closure. Like, you're never going to be able to meet up with that person and have that conversation that you feel like you need. Yeah. And then I don't know, I just feel like it's more of a mental thing that from personal experience anyway, like, my kind of experience with closure is like wanting to know why a certain thing happened and why that situation ended that way. But I guess my point is like, I don't need to know that. It's a desire to, like, it's not necessarily gonna change my life knowing that answer.
I think it kind of depends on the situation and the person.
Generally speaking, but
yeah, I think for me, going back to your point of if someone was to pass away and if you don't get to have that conversation again.
I mean, maybe that's not the best example.
I know, but let's use that just kind of, I'm going to pivot off that and then lead into other things. Like,
That's not really closure as well.
No, what I'm trying to say is I don't think you can get closure with that person being gone and you not being able to have that conversation. I don't think you can get, not closure. I don't think you can get parts of closure. I think you just adapt. I think you just like, you just have
Accept
to
it.
accept it. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if acceptance is true closure in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I think in general, like, I agree with you. Like, closure comes from when within yourself, whether it's a forgiveness within yourself or just, you know, adapting or accepting a certain situation. But I do think there's elements of closure where you might need to know something from someone in terms of like, yo, why did this happen? Like, I just need to know that for my peace of mind. Sometimes it's not even so much to get the end closure. It's a step within that closure kind of journey. If that makes sense. That's what I feel anyway. How, out of 10, this is a little bit more of a personal question. How would you rate your mental health? Or how well is your mental health, would you say, out of 10? And what could you do to improve it? I'll go first. For my mental health at the moment, probably 8.5, probably a 9. The one is just pure tiredness that I can't really fully function. So there's certain things that I know I need to think about in my head and need to just, I can do this, do that. Or if it was like 2 days ago, it might be the 6. And sometimes it just comes down to doing stuff like this, filming, get a bit fearful. Oh, should I email this person? Like, for example, when I did the barbershop conversation, which you guys should check out, because it should be out, I said to them before I started, I said, yo, I just want to let you guys know, like, I was proper, like, fearful doing this, you know, like, I was proper doubting it. Didn't message you guys for, like, till 2 weeks before, even though I had this in the date for time. I was like, why? I was like, I don't know. It's just fear in it, like, of me being outside my comfort zone. So then that sometimes affects where my mental health is at. So right now, I don't feel any fear. So yeah, about 8.5, 9, I would say. And to improve it, I just need to get more sleep. Now, this is a question, if you don't answer, you don't have to answer. I'm just letting you know, but this is a question.
I'd say it's 9, but it may be like 6.
Sorry.
Let's get the average.
Why I say that is like, generally I think my mental health is up there.
Okay.
And maybe it's not mental health, maybe it's just, kind of. But like, a few times recently over the last few months, I may just be talking to someone about something and I string together a sentence and explain it in a way that makes me emotional. But I didn't think I was emotional about it. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, even I was having a conversation with a girl and she said, almost about, I was acting like, women don't care about men's mental health, da, 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 da. But I was kind of joking with it. I wasn't really believing what I was saying. But then I strung together a sentence and it was like, rah. If these girls weren't here, maybe I would just bust a tear on that one. So just because things have come out like that and I was thinking, hold on, I don't feel like I feel a way about that. That's why I say it could be like a 7. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's method in the madness.
That's interesting. So what could you do to improve that? Do you know?
I think I'd like to go therapy and just dig it all up. I think I find that interesting.
Anxiety or fear, like, in terms of delving into the thought of like having to face certain things, or is it something that you're like cool with?
I more think about it as something that would be exciting. Because when I look at like mental improvement, to me it's like all becoming like Jamaya 2.0, which to me is like, that's gassy. Do you get what I'm saying? But just because I know that I don't know how it's going to go. So something could really be unearthed that's like raw. And that could just have me on level 2, which I ain't never experienced before. So there's a slight fear there, but I think there's more excitement to knowing that I'm going to come out of it better. But yeah.
Love that for you. Does anyone else want to answer the question?
I don't mind answering. I'm probably on a 7.5 right now. I think like the past couple of months, you know, I just had a vision of. I watched that Kev on Stage episode, you know, the start of the year one. He lost his brother.
Yeah.
I just that flash with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last couple of months, like I realised I'm not as mentally strong as I thought I was. But in terms of where I am now, like I think that's a good place to be. I think I remember going on a course and they were like, being around like 7.5 is probably like the sweet spot, because you don't actually like being on a high all the time can be draining, and also like it's a long way to drop.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to be like on the lower end. So I'm quite content like where I am now, but yeah, I think there's always room for improvement. But yeah, about 7.5.
How would you improve it? That was
I'd
the second
improve
part of the question. You're welcome.
I think I started exercising a lot more now because I stopped when I was sick. But and I think for me personally, like exercise has really helped for my mental health, my anxiety, and also like just trying to get a better balance, work-life balance, friend balance, that kind of thing. Because my other mantra that I couldn't remember was, "Don't worry about things that you can't control, because it's wasted energy." So that's what I try and do and try and live my life by. And yeah, just try not to stress, because stress can just do a madness in ways that you don't even know. So yeah, just trying to put all those things together and just try and do better, and try not to be too hard on myself as well, because I think that's something I do quite a lot. But yeah, it's a journey, isn't it?
You want to answer or you don't want to answer? You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm about a 7, I think. How can that be better? I guess I'm trying to work out. I'm probably got a bit of pressure on myself. I'm trying to work out at this age, should I be? Am I? How can I? And I'm just giving myself bare stress. No one ain't pressuring me. I'm pressuring myself. And I think sometimes, like, I'll be at home and thinking, like, is this it? Like, I never wanted 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm in 9 to 5 now, working in my house, I'm like, is this my life? And I think I spend so much time thinking, can I get something else out of this?
Yeah.
Like, is there more for me? Shall I move to Dubai? Shall I move to America? I'm just thinking so much that I'm just probably stressing myself out a little bit. So yeah, I think I'm about a 7. I think what could make it better is maybe ticking some things off my list that I want to do for the year that are not work-based or church-based. So like stuff that's me, so that I can almost prove to myself that I've got, because believe it or not, sometimes I feel like I ain't got nothing going on. And so how do I achieve things and have a sense of, I've got things going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that would help me. So I've ticked off 3 things off my little list of my goals for this year. 3 things, you know. We're not even in March. All right, good. 3 things. So I'm like, now I've got things going on. But I do think about it probably more than the average person, probably.
Do you know, Steph, or no?
I would say that I'm about an 8.
Strong.
Very strong. I think I'm about an 8.
I love that for you.
Probably because it's half term and I've slept.
Yes! We love that for you.
So that works. However, when we go back in, I reckon it will be about a 4. But that's just because of how much we've got to do. But at the minute, I'd say it's about an 8.
Yeah.
How to improve? I don't really know. I feel like my mental health is quite stable for a lot of the time. I think the only time where it took a mad dive was COVID, but that was because I am outgoing, outside. Let me go here, let me go there, let me do this. But to be inside, wow, that was the pits. But I know I hated it. And everyone who said they had a good time had like, I just don't believe you. I can't believe you. I think that's rubbish.
You know what? If I could opt to go back into lockdown for a bit, I would. No. I would.
I had this thought today. I was going to tweet, I miss lockdown, but I thought, I don't want to get ran off Twitter. Get ran off Twitter.
No, I hated it. It was awful. Absolutely hated it. But yeah, that's the only time that I've had a little wobble. Outside of that, I'm pretty okay. And I don't know why that is. It's killing me. I don't know why that is, but
there's a lot going on.
there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to improve that. I feel like prayer, fasting. I feel like when I don't pray, that is true actually, when I don't pray, that's when I start to feel funny. So.
Okay. For me, as I said, it's going to be a short section on the top. Just going to check what you guys are like.